All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Katie Golland. I'm the Director of Product Marketing. I've been at Sugo for about a year, live in San Diego now. Please drop in chat where everyone's located. We want to know where everyone is from all over the country and the world. And quick fun fact, today is my son's 4th birthday, his golden birthday. He's turning 4 on the 4th. And
Happy
Ahmed,
birthday.
yeah.
And I'm Ahmed. I'm Enterprise Customer Success Manager here at Swoogo. I got a fun fact and a not so fun fact. Fun fact, I actually started Swoogo on the same day as Katie did, so we're kind of onboarding buddies. Not so fun fact, I'm coming to you live from Brooklyn with a broken foot. So very exciting. Watch out for those box jumps at the gym, people. PSA. How are you doing, Katie?
I'm doing great. I know I felt bad. I almost told you before this webinar, break a leg.
And they're done that. So I give it, it's all up from here.
Yeah, it looks like we've got people joining us from all over also. So thanks everyone for joining us today. A couple housekeeping items, then we want to get right into the webinar. We will be recording today, so don't worry if there's things you want to kind of come back to and relook at. We will record and we will send out the recording. There's also a chat box, so if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in chat. We will try to stop throughout, and we also have our amazing support rep, Alexis, on chat, who's answering any questions that you have. Throw her some love in chat if you've worked with her before on the support team. Yeah, agreed. So let's go ahead and dive in. Today, we're going to be discussing the magic of progressive registration. So we will cover a few things today. What is progressive registration? For those of you who might not be aware of it, we'll dive into the what. Why use progressive registration, when and how you can use it. And then Ahmed will actually dive directly into Swoogo and show you how to put it in action. And that will wrap for today. So it should be a 30-minute webinar in total. So let's go ahead and dive in.
All right, y'all. Now, imagine if you will, and you can feel free to close your eyes for this segment, maybe use it as a little meditative break, middle of the day, if it's your, still morning for you. Close your eyes and imagine you're setting up for registration for a large multi-day event. You've got a general idea of your event's agenda, but you haven't started collecting registrations yet because you haven't ironed out the details yet. But you haven't ironed out the details yet because you haven't begun registration yet to get a sense of attendance. And there's also a lot of details you need to collect about your attendees, like session preferences, dietary restrictions, maybe you got special VIP dinners, but you don't want to risk overwhelming your attendees and risk registration abandonment from too long of a registration form. And again, you still haven't ironed out all those details in the first place, and everything feels overwhelming, and you don't know where to start. All right, maybe this wasn't a good meditation segment, but I hope you at least have a vivid picture in your head of what it could be like to plan a big multi-day event, how stressful it can be. Well, the answer is progressive registration. Very fun. Any SpongeBob fans? So let me take you back just a couple of months to an event that I attended myself near Comic-Con. I think if you look closely in this picture, you might be able to spot me. I know you can't tell on this webinar, but I'm actually very tall in real life. I'm about 6'4". So I don't know, anyone ever been to Comic-Con? It's a lot of fun. I go every year. If not, maybe we'll get you with this next one. How about any supermarket sweep fans in the house? There I am with my giant bonus item in the back. Katie, if you switch to our next slide. Yeah, I got that giant pretzel. I promised it was worth $200 bonus point. So very exciting. Comic-Con was a blast. All 4 days of it. I love to cosplay with my friends. We got panels, photo ops, autographs, single and multi-day badges. There's VIPs, press, celebrities. It is a lot. How do they manage all that? I think you may know the answer right now, just based on the theme of this webinar. So let's talk about the Comic-Con formula. I want to take you through how they set up their event, and maybe you can start to get some inspiration or color some ideas about how this might be applied to your own events. Don't worry, we'll talk about those too. So first and foremost, the basics. Comic-Con uses a fan verification process to keep things synchronous and gather attendee details for organizers to track interest and project attendance, but also plays a role in minimizing scammers and resellers, for such a high-profile event. Think of this as kind of the invitation list that's being set from the get-go. And then maybe, a few months out before the event, we start to sell tickets. So details instructions are sent out to attendees on how to log into their existing registrations in order to actually purchase their badges. Because we already have the basic details from that first touch point, the messaging and the user journey here is customized based on whether they're a general attendee, a member of the press, a VIP, or any other demographic. Next is agenda setting. So this is where the real hype begins. This is maybe a month out before the event, or a few weeks before the convention. It's time to make it all feel real and secure your spots for those elusive panels, book your autographing and photo op sessions with all your favorite celebrities, and really start to build out what your day and your experience at this 4-day convention will look like. And then lastly, you kind of know before you go touch points, important things about where you're entering and what time to be there, but also including communications about how you could still go in and modify your registration last minute. So maybe scheduling conflicts mean you and McGregor is no longer able to attend, bummer, but you maybe want to switch that photo op to a photo op with Hayden Christensen, for example. Constant communication here is key to allow attendees to adjust their schedules right up to and before the event, continue monetizing, continue selling photo ops, continue setting autographing sessions that maybe haven't sold out yet, as well as fill them in any important details that they need to know on the days of.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great example, Ahmed, with Comic-Con specifically, of getting people registered, but using progressive registration to collect additional information leading up to your event.
Yeah.
So let's get into a little bit more about why progressive registration and talk about some more examples of how to utilize it.
Yeah.
So why progressive registration? Hopefully some of this came through in kind of that scenario that Ahmed walked through, but first and foremost, better conversion rates. So how many of you have experienced a reg form that was really long and maybe overwhelming? So progressive registration allows you to kind of break that down over time, right? Collect the information you need to get people registered to collect that interest, and then find opportunities to continue to engage them and collect information as you get closer to your event. It also allows you to be more nimble in your planning. How many of you 6 months out have your agenda fully set? Not us. So
I'd
it
be
allows
shocked if you did.
exactly. There's always things leading up to the event, people you're solidifying as speakers, sessions that are continuing to be added. So allowing you to be nimble with your planning, collect that initial registration, but then allowing you to collect additional preferences or session signups as you get closer. And then third is giving you the ability to hype your event. So not only are you trying to continue to gather more registrations, but you need to have a promotion plan for those registrations, those attendees who have already signed up for your event. How are you continuing to keep them engaged and hyped leading up to your event and creating that sense of excitement? Now let's talk about a couple different event types that make sense for progressive registration. It doesn't make sense for every event. And so we're going to talk through some event types that make sense, and then also questions to ask yourself to see if progressive registration fits for your event. So first, conferences and trade shows. In this scenario, you might be sending out a save the date 6+ months in advance to collect that initial commitment and interest in your event. And then you may still be planning your agenda. So you might ask a couple months later, what people are interested in learning about. Are there specific products that you're rolling out or that you want to provide additional training on? Or are there different challenges that they might be experiencing? You can collect that information and continue to build your agenda. And then as you've solidified that agenda, you might have those sessions ready to go, and you want people to sign up for which sessions make sense for them and start creating their own personalized agenda. So that's just an example for conferences and trade shows of how you can think about progressive registration.
Yeah, if we flip that to maybe an internal event, think an offsite, a retreat, maybe a big President's Club trip, something like that. Maybe, you don't have the specific details yet, but you have at the very least secured a specific location, a venue, and now you need to get travel information because you need to get, people from all over the globe to be able to get to the specific location, and you need to collect that well in advance, especially if you've got a global corporation or global organization where there's people that maybe have to consider visa requirements, passport things and whatnot. You want to collect that travel information nice and early on. Maybe then the next step, as you get closer and closer to the event, maybe you've secured a few restaurant reservations. You want to make sure that their dietary restrictions are taken care of, and that they've got viable options for them to be able to enjoy their meals. Maybe there's a buffet lunch and you want to make sure that allergies are accounted for. So that's where you maybe start collecting that as you're building out these itineraries for when people are going to be able to actually consume food. And then last but not least, maybe closer to the event, you've got all these activities planned. Maybe there's a golf session, a spa day, snorkeling, for example. and you have the capacities a little bit closer to the event because now you've got these vendors set up that are going to be taking care of all these individual activities. That could be your last touch point that really builds up the hype. Like, ooh, do I want to go? Do I need a spa day in a month, or do I think I'm going to want to go golfing in the heat of wherever this location might be? Those can be collected a little bit closer when it's a little bit more relevant to the attendee that's going to be showing up.
I'm going to choose the spa day. I'll take that one.
I could definitely use a spa day. A good foot massage.
Exactly. And then third, seminars and workshops. So you may need to collect payment upfront for a seminar or a workshop. And then over time, you may be building in networking opportunities. So you could ask your attendees to come back, create a profile, and then sign up for specific networking sessions with other attendees. Or you might have breakout sessions like certifications or courses that you're building within the seminar where you want people to actually sign up and specifically express interest in those sessions. So really what's most important is to think about what questions to ask yourself to make sure progressive registration makes sense for you and how to kind of phase this out.
Yeah, before you even need to think about what you need to know now, ask yourself, are there things that you need to ask about in the future? Like maybe your progressive registration doesn't necessarily make sense for your event and everything can be collected from the get-go. And, maybe it's just a one-track set for the entire thing. You don't need to collect any preferences or anything like that. And you can, have a quick and easy one-touch registration setup. If there are details that you're not so sure of yet, but you know that you need to start collecting registrations, then what do you need to know now? Do you just need to know first name, last name, email? Do you need to, at this point, understand dietary preferences or restrictions? Do you need to understand if like someone's t-shirt size? Do you know if there's going to be even a t-shirt giveaway at this point yet? Have you budgeted that in your event? What is important to get you off the ground now such that you can continue planning and that your stakeholders can start planning whatever parts of the event they are responsible for that you can then pass over?
Yeah, absolutely, Ahmed. And your point about certain event types not making sense for progressive registration, for instance, we wouldn't use it for a webinar like this. We get people registered, and then a couple of weeks later, we have the webinar. But I think this is also a good opportunity for collaboration amongst marketing, amongst sales, amongst your customer success teams. What do people want to know? Have that brainstorm, but don't ask it all up front. Find opportunities to kind of phase that out through your registration experience. And also make sure you're not overwhelming people. While we're going to walk through some examples of how you can think about progressive registration in your promotion plan, don't take it all. Use what works for you. And just to add on to kind of the questions, what do you need a little bit more time to solidify? We mentioned progressive registration helps you be nimble in your planning. So what does that mean? What are you still working out? But you might need to collect those preferences at some point that you can consider having closer to your event. And then what is your promotion plan? So let's talk through an example promotion plan. And then I promise we will get into the back end of Swoogo and Ahmed will show you how all this works. So we are going to walk you through just an example kind of conference and how you could think about a promotion plan and layering in progressive registration into this promotion plan. Again, don't take it all, take what works for you. These are just some examples. So 6+ months out from your event, at this point, you want to create awareness of your event, build that excitement and credibility and get early interest. So you might be sending out a save the date to capture commitment. And in this scenario, you're going to want to gather basic information to get people committed. So this might look like on the right here, you see email address, first name, last name, company, and job title, and then their expressed interest in attending. So this is a great way to get that commitment, build excitement without kind of overwhelming people with every single question you're dying to ask.
Exactly. And maybe 4 to 6 months out is the time where you're going to actually collect payment. Maybe you have an early bird registration set up, and this can either be, timed or based on capacity. Maybe everyone that registers before a certain date gets a special price, or just the first 100 registrants overall get a special price. But you can kind of incentivize the event in that way as part of that promo plan, while allowing people to secure tickets before the event details are still fully ironed out. You can also use this as a touch point, not only to collect payment, but to ask questions about that, about what the event should actually entail. What is the content of the event going to be? Maybe you ask questions like what their biggest challenge is. If this is a more, informative kind of industry event, and you want to make sure that the the content is tailored to those people that have these specific challenges. Maybe it's something, a global challenge, something like a pandemic, I don't know. And maybe that's the biggest thing that we want to focus on this year. And that way you're getting kind of tailored information as opposed to maybe survey results from an event that happened in a previous year where things might not be, or answers there might not be as relevant anymore. B, what do you want to get out of the event? Maybe this is a more, training session kind of scenario. And you want to make sure that people that are paying to attend, if this is a paid event, are getting the most bang for their buck. I mean, they're, spending a lot of money, they're traveling, they're spending time away from their families. What's going to be the most beneficial information that they need during this event?
Yeah, absolutely. Or what kind of activities do they want to do, right?
Exactly.
Making this event about them. Why not ask your attendees what they want to get out of it and what they want to experience at your event?
Exactly.
All right, then 2 to 4 months in advance, you might be ready to kind of roll out some of the information that's finalized. So maybe your agenda is in a good spot and you're ready for people to start signing up for specific sessions, or you need to start collecting travel information to make sure you have transportation lined up on the front end and the back end of your event. So you're starting to think about really locking in the details and continuing to build that excitement and add this additional touch point into your promotion plan for attendees.
Excellent. And then last but not least, this is where we're in the home stretch, less than 2 months out. We're keeping the excitement and we're making it a lot more real because this is where the fun stuff is happening. You may be collecting meal preferences. Maybe you have specific restaurants or specific meal, selections to make. Or maybe you want to choose your specific activities, whether you're going to be on that spa day or snorkeling or specific breakout sessions or training sessions that you want to attend. Or maybe it's even something as simple as profile creation. You're having people build up maybe a bio about themselves, selecting what industries, if you haven't already collected that information in previous touch points, in order to maybe set up networking. Maybe you want to set up, small little tables of people and make sure that the right people with the right interests are seated next to each other, for example. This would be a great opportunity to collect that information as you get a better sense of what your venue looks like and what the layout and the lay of the land is, such that you can, filter these people and magically make their event experience that much more valuable for them.
Awesome. And like we mentioned before we go into the demo in the back end of Swoogo, is you don't have to take all of this. Figure out what works for you. Ask those questions. What do you need to know now? What do you need to know later? And kind of phase it out and figure out kind of what makes sense in your promotion plan. So now, without further ado, Ahmed's going to show you how this all works in Swoogo.